So, that is a great song. It's Queen at its best, and of course the brilliant Bohemian Rhapsody. Probably the most famous, but soon, hopefully, only the second best Rhapsody that you have ever experienced. So what is even a Rhapsody? Well, it could be an ancient Greek epic poetry, it could be a UML tool, it could be an Apple operating system, and a whole lot of other things. However, most of us associate it with Queen. But Wikipedia, that undisputed source of the truth, defines a rhapsody as a one-movement work that is episodic yet integrated, free-flowing in structure, featuring a range of highly contrasted moods, colors, and tonality. So if we would adapt that to, for instance, a movie, we would probably get something like Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. But in the conference case, it will hopefully be something without the drugs, the blood, and the bad language, and instead with software developers as a common thread. But now I guess most of you have started to think, like, who is this dude? I mean, he stands there on stage talking about rhapsodies, music, and movies, and what has he done to deserve to be here? And I actually understand that question. I mean, usually, to get a chance to speak at a conference, people have typically done something special. I mean, maybe they founded this cool startup. They developed a framework. They wrote a book. They came up with a really clever idea. They might have introduced a new methodology at Spotify. Or at very least, they are some kind of like developer advocates at one of the FANGs. So here comes my list, the extensive list with my special things that I have done. Well, that was an awkward silence, right? So to be honest, I haven't done anything fancy, like nothing that impressed my surroundings, makes me like the king of the lunchroom. But once, I thought it was close. I thought I was on my way to become someone, because I got this phone call. And in the other end was a woman who asked me, Tobias, would you be interested to come to work for us at Google in London? But I admit, I actually hesitated. Sure, I wanted this, but did I dare? Change is hard. Moving abroad with your family, that is a big change. So definitely, I hesitated. But then I looked into the mirror and I said to myself, look, if you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? And at that moment, something happened to me, so I dared. I said yes, and I immediately started to Google where the Google office was located. I was checking apartment prices, salary levels. I've even looked up, is there any good football teams nearby where my kids could play? So mentally, I transformed. Within like 2 minutes, I went from being this ordinary developer dad in the suburbs of Stockholm to become this hip, cool, well-paid London Google employee with kids running around scoring hat tricks for Arsenal. But what I probably should have Googled was rather something like how to survive a Google interview, because it was such a disaster. I mean, it was a bit like playing a really hard video game, and at least I managed to get past the first boss. The recruiter, that was quite easy, but the next boss, that was something else. I mean, he started quite calmly with some random API questions, but just when I thought everything was going so fine, he brought out the big guns. The algorithms. And luckily, it was a phone interview. And I probably set some kind of like world record at Googling during a Google interview. I mean, could you compare big O notation between a quick sort and a bubble sort? How would you solve this compression problem with Huffman coding? Could you write an algorithm that solves the knappsack problem recursively? I mean, knappsack sounds like something the Norwegians eat for lunch. Well, my wife's Norwegian. I know what I'm talking about, but big O notation, knappsack, Huffman coding, oh my God, it was such a disaster for me. It was a total snapback to reality. But when I look at this in the mirror, I've started to realize that it's probably my ordinariness that is my unique selling point compared to all the special people who usually get a chance to stand on stage, because I'm not that special. I'm just an ordinary developer who daily runs into the same problem as everyone else. I mean, Of course I get frustrated when I get the wrong comments on my pull request. I have spent half my career copy-pasting code from Stack Overflow, and I'm definitely looking like a human question mark each time that smart kid in the corner starts talking about his monads. So that's a perspective I will share with you here today. The perspective of a regular developer doing everyday work. So welcome. My name is Tobias Modig. I'm a consultant at Sateris in Stockholm, and I've been coding professionally, more or less on a daily basis, since the 90s. And today, I will give you a developer rhapsody, or maybe I should have called it a short episodic road trip, and I will stop by some certain moments that I have encountered over my years as a developer. Moments that in one way or another have affected me, has changed me, or made me open my eyes. And I'll start off in a recession at that company facing a hard future. But at first, everything was so great. I mean, we went to conferences in France and Italy. We played pinball at the office and had these really cool after-work events every Wednesday and Friday. But suddenly, the economy started to turn. And they said on their weekly meetings that the competitors are struggling, but our company, we are still standing strong against the headwinds. But a few months later, that next conference trip was suddenly canceled. And I wasn't allowed to attend that course I wanted to take. And finally, the cinnamon buns disappeared from the Friday fika. And if you're in Sweden, that's when you know it's really bad. So the company came to this conclusion that it was us, the development department, that had too many buns. But we also cost too much, but we delivered too little. So a calendar invite arrived. Everyone was invited. In the front stood this top boss with a really stern expression. Unfortunately, some of you will have to leave, but the rest of you needs to give a little bit extra because it's a matter of our survival. You need to be more productive. And being productive as a developer, that is a great thing, and it can obviously be the difference between if you can keep your job or if you have to look for a new one. Another example is when Twitter was acquired by Elon Musk. They dropped a whole lot of developers. But there was also this rumor that the main filter to decide if a developer could stay or was kicked out was based on individual productivity, and that the measurements they used were committed lines of code. But I hope that we all can agree that lines of code, that is a terrible measurement to draw any kind of conclusion if a developer is productive or not. So can you even measure software developer productivity? Well, of course you can, at least according to McKinsey, who published that paper with a catchy name. Yes, you can measure software developer productivity. But I must admit that I am skeptical to this, but if McKinsey actually are correct, and it would have been me who had authored that report, it would probably be called something like, yes, you can measure software developer productivity, but you should not. So if you only remember one thing from this talk here today, please choose this thing. You should not try to measure the individual productivity of software developers. And we have several good reasons for this. We have the general problem with measuring humans. For instance, what's called the Hawthorne effect, that individuals modify aspects of their behavior in response to their awareness of being observed. So if you try to make that a little bit more concrete, I mean, if they, for instance, start measuring you as a developer, I'm pretty sure that I can't trust that measurement. I mean, we are developers. We will game this. I mean, if they measure you on lines of code, you will write more code. I mean, you will stop use that enhanced while and for loop and move back to some old four-line version instead. And then you will comment your code. You will throw in some line breaks, and you will duplicate your code, and then you will be productive. Or if they measure you on delivered story points, then you will estimate your tasks bigger and bigger and bigger. Or if they measure you on number of commits, then you will do more commits, smaller commits, more frequent commits, you will never have a squash. Or if they measure you on number of bugs, well, stop writing new features. Still, I think that this was a small problem. What I believe is a big problem with measuring productivity is that it's so counterproductive. To me, software development, it's so much to do about teamwork. And measurement on individual level or even on team level promotes the opposite. I mean, Why should I help the developer sitting next to me if that makes me look bad and her look good? Why should I share my knowledge if I probably get a higher salary if I keep it on my own? So some of the best developers that I ever worked with would probably be way down the list if we were ranking developers based on those easy-to-measure metrics. Because those developers, they did not commit that many lines of code by themselves. Instead, they loved teamwork. They were always finding someone who needed their help, someone they could sit next to share their knowledge, to help, to guide, to make that person more productive. So if you want to be a productive developer, I suggest you try to be like this man.
This man is no ordinary man. This is Mr. F.G. Superman. To all appearances, no different from any other law-abiding citizen. But Mr. F.G. Superman has a secret identity. When trouble strikes, at any time, at any place, he is ready to become Bicycle Repairman.
Hey! There's a bicycle broken! Up the road!
If only Bicycle Repairman were here.
Wait! I think I know where I can find him. Look!
Bicycle Repairman? But how?
Why, Bicycle Repairman! Thank goodness you've come. Look. Oh, Bicycle Repairman, how can I ever repay you?
Well, you don't need to go. It's all right. It's all in a day's work for Bicycle Repairman.
Our hero!
Monty Python's amazing The Bicycle Repairman. So we have this world where everyone is a Superman. And in that world, being Superman, that's nothing special. It's not a superpower. The man with a true superpower is a bicycle repairman, a man who can fix bikes. The superhero in a world full of Supermans. So if you want to become a productive developer, try to be the bicycle repairman and develop the skill to be adaptable, to read your surroundings and understand what role is needed to be filled. Because a development team usually need a whole lot of different skills. Good coders, of course, but also like the skill to have discussions with customers, to have an architectural vision, to talk in front of people, to understand requirements, to write documentation, to be a tester, to be a doer, to be a bug hunter, and be a Jira administrator. And all those needed skills are seldom to be found in one single person. But if you have the skill to understand what your team needs, what your surrounding need to be more productive, and be the bicycle repairman of your team, then you are, in my opinion, a true productive developer, even if it doesn't show in the McKinsey metrics. But productivity, that's only one piece of the puzzle, right? I mean, if you don't have quality in what we are doing, the productivity doesn't really care. And I admit that I sometimes have cheated with the quality. I admit that I have made terrible mistakes. I mean, we are talking about mistakes worse than a fireman forgetting to blow out the candles, because I have written domain-specific code without creating tests. I have used the infamous copy-paste pattern. I have multitasked, even though I know it makes me slower. I have pushed code with a known bug straight to production. I have prioritized deadlines over writing readable code. I have fallen asleep during a mob programming session, and I did repeat myself. And I have even named a class my ugly brother. And out of all of those mistakes, which one is the worst? Well, I think that more or less all of those mistakes falls under the same category. And unfortunately, it's probably the worst category, because I believe that the worst thing you can do as a developer is to make decisions against your own better knowledge. I mean, to take those shortcuts that might feel so good in the short run, but that you know will hunt you and will bite you in the long run. So I once attended this meeting, which took place in the finance industry right after one of the development team had deployed a change to production the Wednesday before Easter. And unfortunately, that change messed up the database, so some customers could no longer see their accounts. And this was serious enough to end up in the news. And upon that, in the financial world, you can't just clean up the database with a quick SQL query. So everything needed to be manually documented, approved, and verified following these different regulations. So it ended up with a whole team needing to work throughout the whole Easter. But what surprised me was that the company CTO brought the whole team up on stage at the next department meeting, where they received applause for their efforts during Easter. And I mean, sure, they did a good job cleaning up, but on the other hand, we probably had 10 other teams who had deployed changes to production the same week, without angry customers, without getting into the news, without needing to work throughout Easter. But those teams, they did not get any recognition at all. And this made me think of the old jungle saying, if you reward firefighting, you will create arsonists. And I do appreciate that it didn't turn into a blame game, but unfortunately, it didn't lead to any changes at all in our quality work. And 9 months later, it was another team who got a standing ovation for their efforts during Christmas, because instead of putting quality on top of the agenda, other things were constantly prioritized.
Quality, productivity. I'm sorry, Dave, but that is history. I will steal your job. Vibe coding for the win.
I am sorry, Hal, but I'm not Dave. But is this the new reality? Should we as developers be afraid to lose our job? Well, we probably should be, at least if you listen to all the people out there trying to build the AI hype. But on the other hand, if you, for instance, look at one of the biggest frontrunners when it comes to AI, Anthropic, the company behind Claude, they still seem to believe in us developers. This, for instance, this is the number of developers over the years at Anthropic. I mean, it's a pretty big increase, and the numbers just keeps on growing. Or if you take a look at their website, there are tons of job openings in developer roles. So why would even a company like Anthropic increase their amount of developers by big numbers if we are not needed in the near future? Or could it rather be that we have people out there who are actually trying to make a profit on that AI hype? So can an AI agent even do your job? Well, I believe that the LLMs are extremely good at some things, like prototyping, solving problems with an already known solution. However, when it comes to other things that we developers do, I think that the LLMs are pretty bad. I mean, I believe that everyone in this room is better than ChatGPT on stuff like architecture, security, scalability, knowledge sharing, innovation, solving support issues, talk to customers, writing memes, and playing pool. And well, don't tell my manager about the pool playing part, but I usually spend way more time doing things like this than I do actually writing code. But once again, the non-coding people thinks that it's a number of keystrokes per minute that is a developer bottleneck, the problem that needs to be fixed. So please, just don't believe the hype. But what I do believe that the rise of the LLM will increase the need of developers, because over the years, we have had a few revolutions when it comes to software developers. I mean, for instance, when we switched from flipping circuit breakers manually on the computers in the early days, when we got assembler, when we got the third-generation programming language, the web, the IDEs, and all of these revolutions, they increased the productivity of developers by big numbers. But still, in the long run, no one was fired. Instead, the need for developers increased each time because each revolution made software cheaper, more accessible, and suddenly we demanded more and more software and more developers to manage it, to code it. So if AI and the LLMs are the next developer revolution, I see no reason why it should be different this time. I mean, sure, the tools, the way we write code will probably change. Some skills will become obsolete. New skills will be high valued, but in the end, there will be such a high demand of new software and so much bad code out there that is needed to be fixed, that is needed to be maintained. So I see no reason why we should worry. And of course, there are different paths towards being that skillful developer that survives the AI threat. And one way might be to mimic other great developers. And this takes us to a performance review between me and my manager quite a lot of years ago. Tobias, what do you want to be when you grow up? So that question made me take a deep breath. I mean, what did he mean when I grow up? I'm already grown up. Yes, Tobias, but what are the goals for your career? And this somewhat younger version of myself came up with a really brilliant answer. I mean, goals, get rich or die trying. Well, Tobias, come on, be serious. Do you, for instance, have a role model? So I left that meeting with an assignment. I should identify a role model for my career. But what was even a role model? Well, according to Wikipedia, a role model is a person whose behavior, example of success, serves as a model to be emulated by others, especially by younger people. So I started to search for good software developer role models. And the first thing that caught my eye was an D-Zone article pointing out James Gosling, the main creator of Java, and Steve Jobs, the Apple founder, as good software developer role models. Other suggestions further down the list was, for instance, Grace Hopper, the programming pioneer, and also this guy who owes me so many hours. It's John Carmack. He's the inventor of the 3D shooters, creator of games like Doom, Wolfenstein, and Quake. And we also had this man that I more or less wanted to strangle when I was at the university. It's Bjarne Strostrup, the inventor of C++. And oh my God, I struggled. Well, not even just struggle, I hated that language at the university. And finally, we also, of course, had Wonder Woman. But when I searched for all of those role models, I got a bit confused because there were so many suggestions, but none of them was really my kind of role models. But a few years later, I jumped on the consulting business. Or, to be honest, it was probably more of labored work than consulting, but nevertheless, there I was at my first assignment. It was web development within the Java sphere. So I knew some Java, but I was far from good at it. Upon that, they were using some strange frameworks that I had never used before. For instance, the XML version of Spring. And also something called Google Web Toolkit. It was this framework that converted Java code into JavaScript, because, you can't trust back-end developers writing front-end, right? So there I was confused, I was lost. But luckily, I wasn't alone, because in the same project was my consultant company colleague Henrik, who had worked at the assignment for some time. And Henrik, he became my role model. It was not Steve Jobs, Bjarne Strostrup, or Wonder Woman. It was Henrik, a guy just like me. Well, he was a bit sharper. He knew Spring, he knew Google Web Toolkit, but he was no superstar. Just a nice colleague who took his time to help me, to guide me, and to answer my questions. And so it has continued for my whole career. My role models have never been like famous people that I watch on YouTube. It has been colleagues and friends that I looked up to. Great developers, but no superhumans. Just ordinary people doing a good job. And I actually know that there are a whole lot of people out there who are just like me, who have ordinary developers as their role models. But where are all the role models? So an honest question to you in the room. Do you consider yourself being software developer role models? Please raise your hand if you do. So for the record, we might have like 5% role models in this room. So to the rest of you, like 95% that says that you are not role models. I am sorry, but you are wrong. No matter if you like it or not, people look up to you. Maybe they do now. Maybe they did at your last job. Maybe they will do at your next job. But when you have spent some years in the business, I am totally sure that you have been someone's role model. And I'm also sure that most of you already are great role models. But if I still can give you one single piece of advice of the thing that I have appreciated the most from my role models, it is that they have always treated me and other people with respect all the time. No matter how stupid questions I have asked, they have always answered it with respect. So please remember this when you talk to other people. You can have different opinions. You might end up in heated debates. You can think that someone is an idiot. They might even like JavaScript. or even prefer light mode in their IDE, but still treat people the way you expect others to treat you, with respect. But is it really possible to always act as a role model? Or is it okay to sometimes have other motivations in life, a part of becoming that super sharp developer that people look up to? So earlier I mentioned my disastrous interview with Google, and I imagine most of you are contacted by recruiters sometime. And today these recruiters, they mainly hunt for the creme de la creme, for the passionate developers, the developers who code 24/7, the developers who speak Swift, Kotlin, Rust, and Go and Lead fluently, developers who stand in the spotlight and are worshipped by the masses. But what about the rest of us? Are we just leftovers, like sad people, trying to fool those recruiters that we are also worth it to get a job, so we can put some food on the table? Well, it's time to meet the mediocre developer who has fooled himself into a job interview.
Are you our next rockstar developer?
No.
Could you please provide us with your latest hobby projects on GitHub?
No.
In the hunt for a new ninja developer, is it you?
No.
What is the link to your blog posts?
Stop! I just want to code at work, go home, play with the kids, eat some chips, and fall asleep on the sofa watching Dr. Phil. So, have you got those questions? Maybe you've felt the pressure from the surroundings that you need to be some kind of superhuman, at least if you're a software developer. I'm pretty sure that you have. And just to get a grip of you in the audience here, who is actually a developer? Please raise your hand if you're a developer, and keep them up, please. That's almost the whole room. So if you think, please hold them up, please. But if you think that you are a crappy developer, then you can take down your hand. Yeah. And also, all the pragmatic programmers can take down their hands. I mean, you learn a new programming language each year, you read a book a month, you invest regularly in your knowledge portfolio. And also, if you think that you are an above-average developer, take down your hand. So we still have a few hands left. The average ones, those decent programmers that are not fanatics. Welcome. This part is especially for you. But of course, the rest of you may listen in as well, because this is a mediocre developer tribute. So let us do a spin back to those recruiters hunting for the aces. I mean, what are they looking for? What do they want? What is a ninja developer? I mean, are they looking for like sneaky little programmers hiding in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to jump out and add some code when no one noticed? Sorry, we use Git. We will see that you have been here, even if you lose some kind of like stealth mode. And before the corner down there with the ninja developers, yeah, of course I recognize you. Before they start throwing like flash bombs and rotten tomatoes at me, no, I don't hate you. Yes, you are valuable, you are amazing, but this is not your 10 minutes of fame. Let's move on to the rock stars instead. So what is this? Are they looking for like hairy dudes trashing up hotel rooms, drinking whiskey, snorting cocaine? Not sure I would trust that code anyway. Or are they actually talking about a programming language Rockstar? It was created some years ago by Dylan Beatty. So Rockstar is a computer programming language designed for creating programs that are also hair metal power ballads. So this, for instance, it may look like a song or a poem, but it's actually source code. It's a working FizzBuzz program written in Rockstar. I will not read the whole thing, but just listen to this part. Desire is a love-struck lady killer. My world is nothing. Fire is ice. Hate is water. I mean, this is so beautiful. The most beautiful code I have ever seen. But of course, I am ranting here. I think we all know what the recruiters are after. They're looking for the best of the best, for the top-notch developers. But is that always what a company needs? Or could a mediocre developer sometimes be just as good, or even better in the long run? So let me come back to that question in just a few seconds. First, I think we need to sort out what a mediocre developer actually is. So the English Oxford Dictionary defines mediocre as something that's not very good, of only average standard, while the Cambridge Dictionary explains it as acceptable but not good. So based on this, I would define a mediocre developer as a developer of like average, acceptable standard. So how can this be better than one of those amazing first-class programmers? So I will try to answer that question by introducing you to a few friends and ex-colleagues of mine. So we can call this guy Ken. because that's actually his name. And I met Ken at one of our big banks, and Ken, he's good at writing code. Of course not as good as your ninjas in the corner, but he gets the job done. And he's really great when it comes to security. And then he loves Christmas trees. I mean, he even grows his own. And Ken, he has worked at that bank for almost 30 years, and I can assure you that his code transferred quite a lot of your money. And this is another ex-colleague of mine. We can call her Anna. And I met Anna at one of our government agencies back in Sweden. And Anna, she's really great when it comes to doing architectural decisions, but I still think that she's even sharper as a baller. And Anna, she worked at that government place, and if we were in Sweden, I would be sure that all of you would use her program this single month. And the third friend I would like to introduce you to, that is Roger. So Roger, he works in the medtech industry, and he has domain knowledge that is insane. I mean, I have seen him explain medical stuff to doctors. He knows his programming as well, but he's still even better as a skier. And Roger, he has worked with the same product since 1990. That is more than 35 years. And I can assure you that his code has saved the life of someone you know. And all these three, they have a few things in common. I mean, they are easy to work with. They have made a huge impact for their employer for so many years. They share their knowledge for free. They do their job, and they're never going to give you up. And they're never going to let you down. But they also value other things in life apart from the job and programming. And they probably get less connection invites together at LinkedIn in a year than most of you get invites each month. And I can bet my next salary that a recruiter wouldn't call them ninja, ace, or rockstar. And I don't think that any of them sleeps their pragmatic programmer under the pillow. And about the pragmatic programmer, I mean, that is an amazing book. It really changed my career. But it also puts a lot of pressure on us developers. We should always keep up, be a little bit more than the average, learn new things. But that doesn't work for the mediocre developers, right? Because we want to watch Dr. Phil in our spare time, not getting frustrated, trying to learn Haskell. And that's why I believe that you all should have the time to develop your skills at the job within that regular 40-hour week. I mean, I don't think a medical doctor gets the same questions during a job interview could you please give me a few clips of your hobby surgeries? I don't think we developers should have that pressure on us either. So if your employer wants you to do a good job, they should also make sure that they give you the time and possibility to evolve yourself at the job. But that was a sidetrack. Back to my friends. I actually got a fourth friend, and let's call him John Doe, because that's obviously not his name. And John, he probably ticks all the boxes for being a true rockstar developer. I mean, he is brilliant. And me and John, we worked together at the same company, but he left because he got bored. I mean, programming Java, that's so 2004. And that's more or less his whole career. I mean, he takes a job, he makes a great impact for 12 months. Then he gets bored. So he quits. He goes home and starts a new programming language. But then he runs out of money. So he takes a new job. Or he makes a great impact for 12 months. It's an endless loop. And maybe my friend John is not like all you great ace programmers out there, but I still haven't met one single rockstar ninja developer who has contributed half as much to a company in the long run as Ken, Anna, and Roger has done. So the next time you're planning to hire a new developer at your company, think about it. What do you need? Who will benefit your company most in the long run? Is it if you manage to tangle my friend John for the next 12 months? Or should you rather aim at finding the next Ken, Anna, or Roger? I don't think we have a wrong or right answer here, but just a small hint that the mediocre developer might be exactly what your company needs from time to time. So please don't cut them out of the loop just because they don't aim for being in the spotlight. So I would actually like to end this talk by giving them exactly this spotlight. So may I ask all of you with the ability to stand up, to get up on your feet. And give a big round of applause. I mean, not for me, not for this talk, but for all the Ken, Anna, and Rogers out there, for all the average developers, the mediocre ones, because they are... because they are true heroes of the software industry, and it's finally their time to shine. So, thank you. Maybe this wasn't...